All right, welcome back for part 2 of our deep dive into modern Indian history.
Specially tailored for all you UPSC aspirants out there.
And really anyone who just finds this era fascinating.
Definitely.
If you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on more of these deep dives.
Yeah.
Last time, remember, we kind of set the stage. We explored some of those broader historical movements.
The big picture stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But today, we're going to zoom in a little bit.
We are.
On an individual.
An individual whose influence really touched everything.
Yeah, whose influence, rippled across art, education, even India's fight for independence.
Big name.
Rabindranath Tagore.
There he is.
So most people, when they think of Tagore, they think poet, right?
Yeah, and for good reason.
For good reason. He was the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize in literature.
Exactly. Well, here's where it gets interesting. Tagore was so much more than just a poet.
Oh, for sure.
Seriously. The man was a polymath. He really embodies that term.
So to give our listeners a sense of his range.
Poet, novelist, playwright, composer.
Okay, we're just getting started.
Philosopher, educator, painter.
Wow.
Yes,
even for his sleep.
Exactly.
Was this kind of, this multifaceted talent, was that common back then?
Even for his time, Tagore's, his range of achievements was extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
And get this,
Okay.
He even composed the national anthems for both India and Bangladesh.
Okay, that's officially mind-blowing.
It's pretty impressive.
It is, it is.
Yes.
So, okay, amidst all of these accomplishments, what were the big, the core ideas
Right.
that were driving him? Like, what was the philosophical foundation, so to speak?
Well, at the heart of everything, I think it was a profound humanism.
Humanism.
A belief in the fundamental unity of humankind, regardless of,
Cultural differences.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you see that belief reflected in everything that he did.
Yeah. So how did this humanism then shape his views on things like British colonialism?
Okay, so he was a staunch critic of British rule.
Okay.
That much is clear.
Right. But there's always a but.
There's always a but.
Tagore.
His thinking gets
Nuance.
Yeah, it gets really nuanced.
Yeah.
He didn't see British imperialism as the only problem
Interesting.
plaguing India.
So what else did he point to?
He believed that India's challenges went deeper.
Okay.
He saw social and moral decay within Indian society itself as playing a significant role.
Wow.
And that wasn't about placing blame,
Okay.
but recognizing the complexity of
Yeah.
the situation.
Yeah. And I imagine that must have been a pretty controversial stance
Absolutely.
to take during a time of, rising nationalist sentiment.
For sure.
So it's really fascinating
Yeah.
to kind of contrast Tagore's vision of nationalism with some of the more aggressive forms, emerging elsewhere.
Exactly. He was advocating for a more inclusive, more humanistic approach.
So for Tagore, independence wasn't just about kicking out the British. It was about, building a better India, internally as well.
Yeah, for him, it was about addressing the internal challenges alongside the fight against colonial rule.
Alongside.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, how other leaders in the independence movement viewed this perspective.
Right. Yeah.
Did they see it as insightful, or did they see it as a distraction from the immediate goal of freedom?
What do you think?
I don't know. It's hard to say for sure, but it definitely makes you think about all those different shades of opinion that existed within the movement. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So while Tagore was critical of certain aspects of Indian society, he wasn't all doom and gloom, right?
Right.
He also really championed
Cultural exchange.
Yes. He believed in
He
them.
believed in integrating the best of Western culture with Indian traditions.
So it wasn't like a blind acceptance or rejection?
It was about creating something new, dynamic, uniquely Indian, yet informed by the world.
Right. So he wasn't anti-West.
Right.
But he wasn't blindly pro-West.
He was about finding that sweet spot.
That blend. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And you see this perfectly embodied in his founding of Visva-Bharati University.
Right.
This was a place where Indian and Western educational philosophies could come together, a true embodiment of his belief in that cross-cultural dialogue.
And speaking of education, Tagore had some pretty radical ideas about how learning should actually happen.
That's right.
It wasn't just about the institution. It was about, the process.
Yeah. His experimental school, Santiniketan, was a testament to that.
Oh, yeah.
He emphasized experiential learning, a deep focus on the arts, and nurturing curiosity over rote memorization.
Sound familiar?
It does, doesn't it?
I mean, he's like 100 years ahead of his time.
Yeah.
These are some of the hottest trends in education today.
That's right. And what's fascinating is that this approach was rooted in his belief in nurturing the individual.
The individual.
And making learning a joyful experience.
Joyful.
Even a liberating experience. And that was radical for his time, a stark departure from the, from the rigid, the authoritarian teaching methods that were prevalent then.
Yeah.
Totally different.
So different.
Yeah. And it wasn't just about the classroom either.
Right.
Tagore also saw art as a powerful force for unity. Particularly between Hindus and Muslims.
Right.
Who were increasingly experiencing tensions during this era.
Yeah. So how did he use art to kind of bridge those divides?
Well, one striking example is the Rakhi Utsav festival.
Yeah.
He initiated, the idea was for Hindus and Muslims to exchange these colorful threads as a symbol of solidarity, of brotherhood.
Wow, it's such a, it's a really powerful image.
It is.
Just that tangible representation of shared humanity.
Exactly, yeah, it cuts through those religious differences.
It does.
And it highlights how Tagore constantly sought ways to use his influence, not just to preach unity, but to enact it.
To make it real.
Yeah, something people could experience, feel.
Yeah, so we've talked about Tagore, the poet,
right,
the educator, the advocate for unity. But there's another layer to his artistic expression that I think often gets overlooked.
Oh, absolutely.
He was also a visual artist.
A painter.
A painter.
Most people don't realize that Tagore was a prolific painter.
A prolific painter, wow.
With a style all his own.
Okay, so what are we picturing here?
Well, he was influenced by both European expressionism and those ancient artistic traditions.
That's a fascinating blend.
Yeah.
Was there anything particularly unique about his approach to painting?
You know what's interesting? He intentionally left all of his works untitled.
Untitled?
Yeah. He wanted viewers to engage with the art on their own terms.
Really?
To bring their own interpretations. Their own experiences to the canvas.
So he wasn't interested in dictating meaning.
No.
It was about that, like individual engagement.
Exactly.
And the personal connection with the art.
Precisely. And which, if you think about it, aligns perfectly with his overall philosophy.
Of course.
Encouraging independent thought.
Yeah.
Respect for diverse perspectives.
It's like, it's all starting to feel very interconnected.
Yeah.
Like the different aspects of his work were all expressions of the same core value.
Exactly.
But beyond his art, I mean, Tagore also made some pretty powerful political statements, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most striking examples came after the horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919.
Oh, yeah, where British troops opened fire on a peaceful gathering.
On unarmed Indians.
Yeah, a truly dark
moment.
Moment in history. How did Tagore respond to that?
He was so outraged by the massacre that he renounced his knighthood.
Wait, he gave up his knighthood?
He did.
From the British crown?
That's right.
That's a huge...
It's just an act of defiance.
Yeah.
A way of saying, you know what?
Yeah.
I can no longer accept any honors from a government that has committed such atrocities.
Against his own people.
Exactly.
Wow. And what was the impact of this?
I mean, it had a profound impact.
Like, how did it resonate with the Indian public?
His renunciation solidified his status as not just an artist, not just an intellectual, but as a moral leader, a symbol of resistance. It further galvanized the independence movement. It demonstrated that even those who had been honored by the British were now turning against them.
That's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
So we've covered Tagore, the poet, the educator, the activist. But what about his lasting impact on Indian literature and music?
His contributions to both are monumental.
Yeah.
Through his profound poetry, novels, and plays, he really reshaped modern Indian literature and music.
Yeah, I remember reading Gitanjali in school.
Sorry, beautiful and evocative poetry.
Exactly. Gitanjali, alongside other works like Gora and the Home and the World, explores these universal themes of humanism, of love, of social justice, the complexities of the human condition.
The human condition.
And these themes resonated deeply with audiences, not just in India, but internationally.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately earned him the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913.
1913, wow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the poetry.
No.
His novels and plays also pushed boundaries, right?
That's right.
Tackling social issues, challenging traditional norms head-on.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to use his art to spark dialogue and debate about the issues facing Indian society.
And we can't forget the music.
Oh, the music.
I mean, the man composed national anthems.
Not one, but two.
Not one, but two.
He wrote Jana Gana Mana for India.
Okay.
And Amar Sonar Bangla for Bangladesh.
Wow.
And these are more than just songs.
Right.
They're powerful expressions of cultural identity.
Yeah, national pride, and they're sung with such passion to this day.
I also read that he composed a song specifically to unite the people of Bengal during the 1905 partition.
Oh, yeah.
A time of intense division.
That's right. Banglar Mati Banglar Jol.
Okay.
Soil of Bengal, water of Bengal.
Wow.
It became an anthem of unity and resistance, showing how music could be used to rally people around a common cause.
So not only did he write anthems celebrating nations,
right,
he wrote songs to help people cope with the pain of division and upheaval.
Yeah, I think it showcases his deep understanding of the emotional and psychological impacts of political events on ordinary people.
Yeah.
His art wasn't just about beauty, it was about connecting with the human experience.
The human experience.
In all its complexities.
In all its complexities. I mean, it's incredible to think that one person could have such a lasting impact on so many different facets of a nation's culture.
It's true.
I mean, literature, music, art, education, even just the very idea of what it means to be Indian.
Yeah, and it wasn't limited to India alone.
Okay.
Tagore's ideas about humanism, unity, cultural exchange, I mean, these resonated globally.
Globally, yeah.
He was a true citizen of the world.
I mean, he traveled widely, right?
She did, engaging with, leading thinkers and artists from all these different cultures.
Yeah, it's like he was building bridges between
different worlds. Through his work.
Through his work and his interactions.
Exactly.
He wasn't just talking about unity, he was living it.
He was, and that's, I think, a key part of his enduring legacy.
Okay.
Tagore wasn't just a theorist. He wasn't an ivory tower intellectual.
Right.
He was a practitioner, He
was about action.
He was about action.
Okay.
Putting his ideas into action.
Right.
You see it through his experimental school at Santiniketan. His writings that challenge social norms.
Right.
And his bold political statements.
So for all of our listeners out there, especially our UPSC aspirants who are deeply engaged with modern Indian history.
Yeah.
And all of you in school or college, who find this era fascinating. Where do we go from here?
I'd encourage everyone to, go beyond the textbooks.
Go beyond the textbooks.
The biographical summaries, pick up one of his works.
Yeah.
Gitanjali, Gora, The Home and the World.
Right.
Experience his powerful prose firsthand.
Yeah.
Let those words wash over you and see how those ideas resonate with you personally.
And don't just limit yourself to the literature.
Right. Absolutely not. Explore his music, his paintings, his writings on education, on philosophy.
Yeah.
There's an entire universe to discover.
Within his creative output.
Absolutely.
And as you're exploring.
Yeah.
Keep in mind the historical context, right?
Absolutely. Remember, the tumultuous times he lived in.
The challenges.
The challenges he faced. The social and political forces he was grappling with. It gives you a deeper understanding of his thinking and its complexity.
It's like piecing together this puzzle, isn't it?
It is.
Where you have all these different facets of his life and work. And as you explore each piece, this bigger picture starts to emerge.
You start to see those interconnections.
You do.
Between his ideas, his art, his activism.
That's the beauty of it, right?
It is. Tagore's legacy isn't some static monument.
Right.
It's dynamic. It's an ever-evolving conversation that continues to inspire. And challenge us.
Even today.
And
as we're, navigating the complexities of our own world.
Right.
With its own set of divisions.
And conflicts.
Tagore's vision of
unity and diversity offers a really powerful antidote.
It does.
It reminds us that despite our differences, we're interconnected.
We are.
We share this planet, this journey.
This journey we call life.
We do.
Yeah, and that recognition, that sense of shared humanity.
It's so important.
Is perhaps the most valuable lesson that we can take.
Absolutely.
From Rabindranath Tagore.
For sure.
His life, his work, shows us that art can be a bridge.
It can.
That education can be transformative.
And that embracing our shared human essence is essential.
Essential.
In creating a more just and harmonious world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the extraordinary life and legacy of Rabindranath Tagore,
a fascinating journey,
we leave you with this thought. Tagore believed in a unity and diversity approach to nationalism.
Right.
How might his ideas help us navigate the complexity of our world today?
A great question.
With its own challenges of division and conflict.
So much to think about.
We encourage you to reflect on this question, explore Tagore's works, and discover how his vision speaks to you.
It's a journey worth taking.
It is. And until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.
We'll see you then.